Hey, Undisputed listeners. Before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com. Reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, are just one click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. Download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com now. Let's start the show. Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. We've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it. Good morning. Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. Guys, good morning. How we doing?
Good morning. Good. Things going real well, Jenny. Real well.
What a super wild card weekend. You know, it is days like today. I am truly thankful I get to sit across from you and do this show. Seriously.
Wow.
I mean, the game wasn't Skip, but I didn't see the intrigue that I thought I was going to get.
Oh, really?
No.
Pouring cold water on me.
What were you watching?
But that's okay. Your day coming.
You know,
your day coming
you are
next
such a pessimist and a naysayer.
next Sunday. Now, what that say? See how you giggling right now? I need that energy next Sunday.
I
mean, next Monday.
Energy.
Next
Lots
Monday.
of it.
Yeah,
Super
next
wild
Monday.
card weekend was awesome. I agree with Skip. I did not move from my couch all weekend, and it was perfect. And we have to start by the shocker that we saw last night. The Browns capitalized off early mistakes by the Steelers to jump out to a 28-0 lead last night. Pittsburgh turned it over 4 times in the first half and could not pull themselves closer than 11 points the rest of the night. Baker did not commit a single turnover and also had over 250 passing yards to go along with 3 touchdowns in the 48-37 win. So, Shannon, how shocking was this?
Skip, we probably should have saw this coming. Now, I was with few ones, and they called Shannon, you're a hater because you played with the Ravens and you don't know what you're talking about. I say, Skip, the problem that I see with them offensively is their inability to run the football. You can't have 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, can't pick that up, and then you drop back to pass, and guy get his hands up, Skip, now you're off the field. And what we saw was Ben's inability to push the ball down the field. Now, in the last 30 years, the Steelers are the 4th team to turn the ball over 3 times in the 4th quarter. The teams lost by an average of 11 points a game. And those 14. Skip, what was the final score last night? They were right on cue to what would happen to the previous 3 teams that did what they did last night. Now, the Browns didn't want to do anything out of, didn't get carried away, Skip, because this game really could have been over. If they'd have came out and scored right after the half, because it was 35-7 going in. Baker did a great job of leading them down the field, getting it to 35-7. If they scored a touchdown right out the gate, the ball game is over from that point on. But, Skip, we saw this coming. The Steelers had been they've been trending down for an extended period of time. And we let it say, well, they got it in cruise control. They're trying to avoid injuries. But what we saw, the inability to run the football and the defensive injuries started to mount. When they lost Bud Dupree, now I can divert all my attention to T.J. Watt. And plus, they got the all-pro right tackle in Jack Conklin, so that kind of neutralized.
Although he went out about mid-game last night. He limped off.
But if you think about it, Skip, you look at the center. He's an all-pro. You look at the right guard.
They're loaded.
They're loaded. So,
except Batonio wasn't there,
right.
Who's a Pro Bowl guard with COVID.
Right. So if you look at them across the board, even if Steelers at full strength, they can do a great job of neutralizing what the Steelers do well. Now, they can't run the football, Skip, and I knew eventually it was going to catch up. Ben not pushing the ball down the field, a lot of tip passes. Skip, when we say empty calories, this is the epitome. This is French toast with powdered sugar. This is potato chip, French fries. Because you're going to look at Ben and be like, oh, my, Ben threw for 500. That's only the 2nd time in NFL history a guy thrown for 500 yards in a playoff game. Tom got the record, 505 in the Super Bowl. But, Skip, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and he had to play. None of these yards were meaningful because none of them came when they was in 1 score or 2 scores. Basically, they've been 3 scores the entire game. So we shouldn't be surprised by what we saw with the Steelers because we saw it trending that way for an extended period of time, and we let it go unnoticed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so back to the question, how shocked was I? I was shocked, but I was not surprised, if that makes any sense.
It does.
Obviously, I was shocked by the opening of the game because when do you ever see anything like that happen?
The Super Bowl.
Except for that Peyton Manning Super Bowl versus Legion of Boom.
Well, at least they got a save, did they? They were smart enough to fall on it in his zone.
And that wound up 43-8.
Yes.
That was much worse than this was.
Correct.
Because the Legion of Boom was just impenetrable.
Right.
And once they jumped out to a lead, it was game way over.
Correct.
This was not game way over because there was a flashpoint moment. I'm going to go to that before I rave about Baker and company.
So you thought the Steelers were going to actually come back and win this game or get in this game?
I was rooting for Baker because I love Baker because he played for the University of Oklahoma, and I pushed for him to be the first pick in the draft. But I will say this. I thought that Cleveland, the Browns, were goners with 4:52 left. And so it's right away, first play of the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. And I'm the biggest Mike Tomlin fan. I've said it 1,000 times on this show. But I thought he blew this one because Ben finally locked in and cleaned it up and started to hit wide open receivers. Because I'm going to remind everybody, Cleveland was down 3 of 4 starters in the defensive backfield. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, what is that any shock that he starts to pick them to pieces?
Right.
So they have cut it to 35-23, and they have 4th and 1 at their own 46-yard line. I thought it would be like a 90% conversion rate on it because Ben was hot. And when he gets hot, I always say, beware backyard Ben, because when he starts just playing some backyard football, he has enough weapons, not at running back, but all the wideouts.
Right.
And you can throw in the tight ends if you want. I know they're hit and miss. But still, he's got enough receiving weapons that he can riddle that defense. So do I think he would have converted that to Juju over the middle for 3 yards or whatever it took? Yes, I do.
I think what scared Coach Tomlin is that he had it 3rd and 1. He got stopped, and he had another short, and they got their hands up, and he got an interception.
But all of a sudden, the momentum had shifted dramatically and wildly to the home team.
I know where you're going to go with this, and we're going to talk about it a little later. I think this situation is different than Mike Vrabel. Even though they had done a great job on Derrick Henry, that is still Derrick Henry. James Conner isn't Derrick Henry.
I didn't even think twice about Vrabel,
right.
but I thought 5 times about this one. Because once he punted, Baker and company went whoosh down the field and scored, and all of a sudden, yikes, it felt like game over.
Right.
But what if Pittsburgh had converted and gone right down the field and scored, and all of a sudden it's 35-30? Would you have liked Pittsburgh's chances from there? Sure, you would have. Okay, now back to what I think happened last night. I agree with you. Pittsburgh was unraveling down the stretch. They got to 11-0, and I thought a lot of people think fraudulent 11-0. I don't think fraudulent because they've beaten Baltimore twice in that stretch.
But you saw them against the Steelers. You saw them against the Cowboys. We saw them against lesser teams.
You could see the wheels starting to teeter. Maybe one wheel had come off. Obviously, Bud Debris wheel came off. And obviously, Devin Bush had already been lost in the middle. And I loved Devin Bush and thought he was a steal of the draft that year. And obviously, Joe Hayden was gone last night. So you're taking away 3 of your key pieces. Defensive line, linebacker, cornerback.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think's going to happen? They're going to have a hard time. But I also thought that this was big brother to little brother. And what did Juju continue to say last week?
The
Browns is the Browns. And I got it. That's their attitude. The Browns is the Browns. Okay, they're coming in here, and they beat them 17 straight times at Pittsburgh. All of a sudden, the Browns are COVID-racked. All of a sudden, they don't have their head coach and this coach and that, and Bill Callahan, the great offensive line coach. And all of a sudden, the special teams coach is the head coach? Coach Prefer? Seriously? What is this? And they're down all these players. They're down Denzel Ward. We could go on Batonio.
The play caller.
Okay, and the play caller.
Maybe the Steelers overlooked that, Skip.
Okay,
they can't practice. They can't.
And they can't practice for really 2 weeks. They had not been able to practice. And I think that they were just laying in the weeds because they came in as Baker's buzzsaw because they've been trending north for the last 5-6 weeks. And this team, as you said, has been trending south. So I believe this team, the The once proud Pittsburgh Steelers walked onto the field last night thinking, you know what? They're in trouble, and it's time for us to flip the proverbial switch. And when they flipped it, the electricity had been turned off.
Somebody shut the power off, Skip. They ran into the same trap that I ran into when I was evaluating them. I said, hold on. They were a 2-point conversion with with Mason Rudolph. Excuse me, Mason Rudolph. I said, they're a 2-point conversion from tying the game with Mason Rudolph, and the Browns are playing everybody going full throttle. You telling me when they get T.J. Watt and they get Cam Hayward and they get Big Ben and this one back, they can't beat that team?
Agreed.
But we didn't anticipate the Steelers getting off to the start. Skip, it's hard to overcome that momentum when it comes. 3 turnovers in the first quarter, Skip, you look up and you're like, man, are we really down 28-0? Really? Yeah, you are. Okay. And you got a dogfight. And so now, Skip, we can relax now. You put no pressure on Baker. Baker's like, I ain't got to do anything. I can just hand the ball off. I can play fake because you got to start Chubb because Chubb was running the ball. Kareem Hunt was running the ball. So you made it real easy. You didn't put him to the test.
No.
A guy in his first playoff start, Skip, you want to put him to the test. Make it be a nip and tuck ball game. Make him have to make those tough throws. Well, you made it easy on him. You had done all the heavy lifting for him by turning the ball over and letting him get a 28-point lead.
Okay, so speaking of those turnovers, this was a team that was not ready to play a team that was ready to play. If we could see those first 4 turnovers in a row, because they came bang, 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 and it's the shell shock of this. And so there's the first snap. And obviously, neither Ben nor Connor made much of an effort to. You got to fall.
You got to get on that.
Come on,
Skip. Even if you just fall on, you lost yards, you punt the ball, you make them go. You got to just fall on
the ball. One of you two, and it's like you got it, I got it. No, you take it, I got it, and it goes in the end zone for a touchdown. And then here he goes, and that's just carelessness.
Yes.
That's like I'm rolling out. I'm not sure where I'm going to throw this, but. And then that's just a little high and wide, but he maybe should have snagged it, and it turns into an interception. Then that one gets popped up in the air, and frankly, I'll be the first to admit, I don't even know who that guy was. Some backup defensive lineman, and he makes the catch of his life.
Right.
Okay, well, that's just like not meant to be. You're like, oh, my God. But then here he came, and to your point, he winds up. I tweeted in the first quarter, don't be surprised if he throws for 500 yards and he got to 501. Well, he's just going to be playing its backyard Ben.
Skip, what you expect to do? You're down 28 points basically the entire game until midway through the third quarter. What do you expect him to throw for? The run game is all out, and they're saying, let's not give up anything deep. So you're really playing into his hands because all Ben wants to do is throw short anyway. So not giving him anything deep. So basically, you're just conceding, okay, take the 10, take the 12, take the 15. We're just not going to give you a 30, 40-yard touchdown. And so Ben ends up with a pile of numbers, Skip, but they were meaningless. You can't turn the ball because you do realize the reason why you got to that number is because you put the Steelers in the hole to begin with.
You did. So, to me, even Ben with half an arm is still very dangerous for the reason you just said.
Yes.
But in the end, rising above this game was the kid I still love, and we've gone back and forth about him on this show. To me, the Browns are all about Baker Mayfield. He has grown up right before your very eyes. And for the first time in his life, he is finally starting to live up to all those commercials. And I get tired of them. I think they're great, but I get worn out from them because as soon as he'd make a play last night, we'd cut to commercial, and there he was in his house again for Progressive Insurance, right?
Well, you can't get a better audience than what you had last night.
You cannot, and he was a big star of the Nissan Heisman House commercials. Right. So the point is, I didn't love any of that because he kept painting the target on his back bigger and bigger, and he couldn't live up as he went through one coordinator, one head coach after another. And finally, Coach Stefanski has been the best thing that ever happened to him post-Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, obviously, because all of a sudden he's got a comfort zone. All of a sudden, and you have disagreed with me on this all year long, the second best thing that ever happened to Baker Mayfield was, and I'm knocking on wood for Odell because I still think he's got a big, good heart and a huge talent, but when Odell went down and out, it clarified the receiving core for Baker, where he wasn't so Odell-centric anymore. He didn't force feed Odell the football. And all of a sudden, he could start spreading the wealth, and they started to look more like a football team, and he quit turning the ball over.
Right.
So he's now gone 11 games, 19 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. That will work.
And it's Skip, but here's the key. is not falling behind and being able to run the football because Chubb and Hunt was running it last night.
Yep.
Now, they didn't run for a ton of yards, but every time they needed, I mean, do you see those touchdown runs that Kareem Hunt got? That's how you want it. Now, if he was still in Kansas City, they'd be the prohibitive favorite for the next couple of years. But even as well as Baker's playing, I still believe he's the third best quarterback in that draft. I'm still taking Lamar and Josh Rosen. We're going to talk about him a little later.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen.
I hear you on Lamar. I'll give you Lamar. I will not give you Josh Allen.
What?
I will not. This kid is electric. Baker Mayfield is you're missing the point here. He's the driving force of the Cleveland Browns.
Skip, no. He's the driving force as long as you're not asking him. You got to think about it now. Think about when they took off when Chubb came back from that injury and they were able to run the football and now you can play fake. Do you believe he'd have been this clean had the game been nip and tuck and they put the ball in his hands? They did a great job. The Steelers did them a favor by turning the ball over like they did, Skip, because Baker could relax. They took all the pressure off him.
You remember it was just a few weeks back in week 14. It was December the 14th on a Monday night. Baker played Lamar head up, and they went back and forth. Can you top this? Yes, I can top that. And they went back and forth, and it ended up 47-42 Baltimore. It was a launch game for the Ravens.
And just imagine if Lamar hadn't gone out. Lamar might have had 300 yards rushing, and it wouldn't have been that close. Y'all got a couple of drives on McSorley.
Yeah, but Baker Mayfield was electric in that game. He'll be electric. Again, am I going to pick them to win at Kansas City? I am not. But will anybody pick them to win? Nobody will, and that's when they will be dangerous.
Exactly.
Yep.
Skip, here's the thing. We saw this coming, and what normally happens, whatever you're weak at in the regular season and you're fortunate enough to make the playoffs, when it gets exploited in the playoffs, it gets exacerbated. What couldn't the Steelers do all year, basically? Run the football. Okay, so now you can't run it come playoff time. They don't even worry about running. Now, I don't know what they're going to do in the draft, but they need to get a back or they need to say, lineman, instead of all these pass sets, we're going to need you to put your hand in the dirt and come off the football. Now, one or two things, and it both might be true. But when you can't run it or you have issues, it gets exacerbated come playoff times, and it makes it look bad. But, Skip, they've been like this. They couldn't run the football. It just got exacerbated last night. On 3rd and 1, Skip, you got to get 3rd and 1. You got to stay on the field. They hand the ball to the fullback, and it's not his fault. He loses a yard. And then it's 3rd and 1. Ben tried to throw a quick pass. He gets batted up in there, and it's picked.
Yep.
Because you can't run it.
Yep. All I know is if Big Ben Roethlisberger threw for 501 yards last night, it's hard for me to believe that he's going to hang him up. No. And he sat on the bench, and he was crying real tears. I don't think those were crocodile tears.
Well, if I'm a fan, I'm crying too because you turned it over 5 times.
He did.
Well, he turned it over 4 times. The first one on Ponce.
But at home, if you're going to lose the turnovers 5-0, you're going to lose.
You're lucky because if you're on the road and you lose 5-0, you're going to get beat by 30.
You are going to get beat.
Skip, look. In today's game, the quarterback is making so much money. It's hard, Skip. It's not like it was when Roger Staubach and all them other guys making $300,000-$400,000. It was getting punished. Skip, now they protect the quarterback. And how do you just walk away from $30 million? How do you just say, you know what? Nah, I'm good. Where else you gonna make that kind of money at? And if you notice, Skip, you hear more and more guys. You hear Aaron Rodgers says, "What? Now Aaron is playing unbelievable, but he says he wants to play into his 40s."
Sure,
Russell Wilson says he wants to play into his 40s. Skip, the money is just too good to walk away, and guys are playing at an elite level. The question is, the Steelers going to have to do some things, Skip. Ben is going to have. I don't know. Like I said, he just came off the elbow ligament, so maybe that had a lot to do with it, Skip. But I just don't know if you can just dink and dunk your way to championships. You got to push the ball down the field. You have to be able to run the ball sometime. They can't run the ball no time.
That is true.
And then they fell behind, and so now the run game and guys just, it's going to...
So, allow me to say that if Baker Mayfield ever so much as wins 1 Super Bowl in Cleveland, Ohio...
Oh, they built a statue.
Well, he might be even bigger than your man LeBron James.
Oh, he'll be good.
I don't know. I don't know about that because is football not bigger than basketball in Cleveland?
Yeah, of course.
Yes,
of course.
It is.
It's been there for so long, Skip. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, if he were to win there are certain places, Skip, that if you win Super Bowls, to lack of a better, be sacrilegious, you're God. And Cleveland is one of those places.
You would be a god.
You look at what Jim McMahon did in Chicago. There are certain places, Skip, because the history of the franchise goes back for so far.
Yep.
You're royalty. It's never going away. You know, Aaron Rodgers and Favre and those guys, in certain places now, you got to win. In Green Bay, you got to win Super Bowl.
Yep.
Because Star won and Favre won and Rodgers won, so you come after that.
Agreed.
That's what you're measured against. The 49ers, you're measured against Joe and Steve. Certain places that have quarterback lineage, you got to win. But you win a Super Bowl in Cleveland? Hell, first of all, they ain't never been to one, let alone.
So we just saw, 4 out of 6 underdog road teams win in the wild card round. So just what if, I know it's a pie in the sky long shot, but what if the 2 road teams win next week? I give Lamar obviously a better shot than I give Baker, but that would be Baker at Lamar to get to the Super Bowl. And remember, Baker plays very well against Lamar and Baltimore. He's played very high-level football against them.
But, Skip, the thing that Cleveland seems to can't do is stop the run against Baltimore. Baltimore runs against it. Skip, they getting off the bus, say, we getting 200. Stop us from getting 300 or 400. Okay. Because they going to get 2.
Okay, that's why I like their chances at Buffalo.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because they can control. Skip, if they hadn't have called that pick, and we're going to talk about this, had they not called that pick on Willie Snead, I'm not so sure Tennessee had ever got the ball back. Because they had taken 8 minutes off the clock just then.
They had.
They're about to use that last 4 minutes up. I don't know how they get the ball back.
They can also stop the run.
That's why they go get Calais Campbell. That's why they get Derek Wolfe. For that game right there, Derrick Henry. Tannehill, you had a good season. Let me see if you can really do it. Everybody say they talk about you. Let me see. We're going to take Derrick Henry away. We're going to see what you're going to do.
Well, for a while, it looked like he could do it. Yes.
Can we just say congratulations, though, to those Browns? First playoff.
Shake it, baby. Pull it off.
26
now you're back.
years. Gotta be happy for those fans. It's been a long time coming. We have so much more to break down from that game. No mercy.
What's up, Undisputed listeners? It's your boy, Shay Sharpe. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before 2 something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now back to Undisputed.
No mercy. Well, according to multiple reports, Bill Belichick is expected to be awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Donald Trump. Since 2018, Belichick has served on the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. So, Shannon, do you think that he will accept the award?
Yeah, he should accept it. The thing is, people need to understand, Coach Belichick has nothing to do with the worst of President Trump. He's his friend. He was his friend before he became president. Now, maybe he knew he had all this inside of him, and if he ever got this amount of power, he would turn out to be the way what he is. But I don't know if anybody's ever turned down the Presidential Medal of Freedom. But if
I don't think so. I can't find anybody.
Right.
Because who would?
That's the highest civilian honor you can receive. There's nothing the president thinks so much of you for what you've done and your contribution. Now, I don't know if being a football coach is a contribution to society, but the president deemed that it is. There are certain things he has. He has that ability to pardon. He has powers that the Constitution has bestowed upon him, and he's using them for Coach Belichick. Coach Belichick wrote a letter on his behalf in 2016, Skip, during the campaign, congratulating him, saying, and I believe I believe that Coach Belichick wrote this letter to a friend. It wasn't political. He was his friend before Donald Trump became President Trump, or President-elect Trump, or now President Trump. Coach Belichick knew him. Skip, it's hard. It's hard when you've been friends with someone. I don't want to say, I don't know how long they've been friends, but let's just say they've been friends 20, 30 years. It's hard to just walk away from somebody after 30 years of friendship because for the most part, maybe you've never seen that side that they're displaying currently. But I'm not turning that medal down. Hell no, I'm gonna be right there. The only part that I'm mad about that I'm not gonna be able to get a ceremony to have him put it around my neck. They got to do it virtually now. They got to send it to him. But no, I take that back. They're probably going. Coach Belichick has time now, so they might have a small ceremony in the White House.
They will have one because I remind everybody, the day after the riots last week, so we're on Wednesday. So on Thursday, Gary Player and Annika Sorenstam from golf, who both have been Trump supporters, Annika campaigned for him. They both went to the White House the day after the riots to receive their medals of freedom.
Now, I don't know if I'm going to do that. Because that's tone deaf. You just saw what transpired, and then you're going to go when someone had basically an assault on your government, trying to overthrow. So, Skip, I'm going to lay low like, hey, just go ahead and send me mine. I ain't going to come get it. Just send it to me.
Okay, so I'm going to read the quick quote. This is from Bill Belichick in a recent news conference after President Trump had read the letter that he wrote in support of him through this past presidential campaign. Belichick said, "Our friendship goes back many years, to your point." I don't know how many, but many. I would think that would go way back because of Belichick's relationship and time with the Jets.
With the Giants, Skip, remember, he was with the Giants back in the 80s.
I meant with the Giants and then
the Jets, okay.
He went on to say, "Anybody who spends more than 5 minutes with me knows I'm not a political person," said Bill Belichick. "My comments are not politically motivated. I have a friendship with Donald." Well, that would echo the emotions, I would assume, of his owner, Robert Kraft, who is a very, very close friend of Donald Trump's and has made the point that when Robert Kraft's wife, Myra, died, remember, Bob Kraft said that Donald Trump called me every day for the next year just to see how I was feeling, how I was holding up.
And probably, Skip, guys that have been friends with President Trump don't refer to him as president. They still call him by his first name. So that lets you know the level that they're on, that you can call the president by his first name and leave prayers off.
Okay. Now, to the flashpoint of this, you said, hey, it's the Medal of Freedom. Who can turn it down? Well, this is just my 2 cents from a distance. If I were in those shoes of Bill Belichick, even if I had been a friend, as Tom Brady has been a golf partner of Trump's in the distant past.
Surprised he didn't get Tom one.
Well, we got 10 days, right? I would turn this down just because of the disgrace of what happened in those riots.
But had the riots not taken place?
Fine.
Okay.
It's just such a disgrace.
Yeah.
And the point yesterday was, as this news became public, it was an obvious PR ploy to me where
trying to get the heat up.
Trump's just trying to look down the list. Well, let's see who's left on the list of people who supported me, who are famous Americans in the world of sports, the feel-good world of sports. Bill Belichick. Oh, I'll give him one. Maybe people will like me more because I gave it to Bill Belichick, right? Yeah. The GOAT coach, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, meanwhile, yesterday in our nation's capital, there are hundreds of police officers near the Capitol in the afternoon in a funeral procession for Brian, let me get his name right, Sicknick, who was the U.S. Capitol officer who was killed among the rioters inside the Capitol building.
You know what I hadn't heard, Skip? I hadn't heard one time Blue Lives Matter. Have you heard that, Skip? Now, you remember when the black BLM, that was trending. Blue Lives Matter.
Okay.
I thought they mattered.
So the point is, they're having a funeral procession, and he's sitting up in the Oval Office handing out a Medal of Freedom to Bill Belichick.
Skip,
well, it just doesn't.
Skip, he's
doesn't ring true.
He's tone deaf. He doesn't get. Well, Skip, the heat is is ramping up. Impeachment. Now, VP Pence can either Amendment 25 invoke that, or the House has said we're going to impeach him.
Okay.
Now the heat, and now you're starting to get some Republicans like, yeah, we got to nip this in the bud. And it's not so much that they're going to be able to do anything. Skip, they don't want this to occur again. So you know what we're going to do? We want to inhibit you from ever running for public office again. Okay. Because he's still President Trump, and we don't want to revisit this in 2024. And so I think that impeachment, but plus he was wrong for this. I agree with you, Skip. The timing of this is that probably should make Coach Belichick feel a little queasy. Like, man, is he really giving me this because he believes I've done good in society?
Yep.
Or is he giving me this to try to get the heat off him so it's something else to talk about as opposed to what transpired last Wednesday? So I totally get. But, Skip, like you said, I mean, I was looking, and Steve and I, my chief producer, like, we couldn't find where someone getting out. Maybe it happened behind the scenes, and he gave it back behind the scenes, but publicly I haven't seen where someone refused to accept the presidential medal.
Okay, but in the history of this country, have we ever had a presidential situation like this one? We have not. Nothing close to this. So to me, this is now a toxic association.
Yeah.
As we've spoken about here in the last few days, it seems like every Trump loyalist has now parted ways, backed off, right?
But, Skip, the thing that we know about Coach Belichick don't care what the people think about him.
Okay.
Because if he did, because there are not a whole lot of people, they understand that he's a historically great coach, but he's a cheater.
I mean, that's true, too. There's that whole
Yes.
issue going on. And furthermore, the timing of this for Bill Belichick, Brady left, and you just missed the playoffs.
Well, maybe he tried to steal some of Brady's shine. Brady didn't play out.
And I'm sure that would operate in Bill's mind because Bill has a huge ego, as all the great coaches do. And it's a bruised ego right now because they took it on the chin this year, and it was a long, hard year for Belichick and his ego.
Garrett Player's son said he shouldn't accept the award.
Right.
He said it's tone deaf.
Yep.
The PGA just took away the championship that was going to be held there in 2022.
From Trump International.
Yeah, in
there
Bedminster.
Yes.
In Jersey,
it's right there in the New York area.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, Skip, like I said, it's just hard. I'm trying to think, Skip, if I'd been friends with someone for 30 years, to be honest, one of my best friends, I've been friends with him since college, Bucket.
Yep.
And Keith Burns, who I've been friends with since he got to Denver.
Yep.
If they had gone to the lengths in which this president has gone to, yeah, Skip, I'm out.
You're out.
Yeah.
Okay, so think about it.
My friendship is contingency.
Okay.
You just don't get no absolute. No, it's contingent.
I am with you on that because think about Belichick's profession. As he goes into the offseason, they have a ton of cap room to go try to seek out and sign free agents. Well, could this be a reason that a free agent would say no to New England? Oh, Coach Belichick is a Trump guy. Like, you don't think that could be the deciding factor if the money was about the same to go to New England or go to the Jets? I don't know.
It all depends on how conscious of the term they use is woke.
Yep.
Some guys, that probably would be.
It would play.
Yeah.
I mean, there are also some Trump supporters out there, and they'd say, I want to be
I want all that.
Okay.
At least I got somebody in the locker room in my side,
All right,
in my corner.
Just for the record, Donald Trump in his time has not issued this Medal of Freedom that many times compared to other presidents.
Right.
This would be his 25th in his single term, obviously. President Obama was 118 medals of freedom in his, obviously, 8 years. Going back to George W. Bush, it was 85 times, and Clinton was 110 times. So they were way up higher than Donald Trump at only 25. Donald Trump has given to Tiger Woods in 2019, just some other sports people, Coach Lou Holtz, Mo Rivera, Jerry West, Bob Cousy, Alan Page. Maybe people don't remember him.
Great defensive lineman. He's one of two defensive players to win the MVP. He and Lawrence Taylor.
Babe Ruth, Roger Staubach, and even Elvis. He gave one to Elvis, okay? So just for the record, that's what's happening here. Now, in the distant past, we've had it given to Mother Teresa and Thurgood Marshall.
Okay, see if I can get that.
I know.
Jesse Owens, John Carlos.
No,
we get those.
Okay, we get them. And yet, as great as Belichick is, does he deserve to be honored? No, he doesn't. But you put it in the context of those who've already received the award. Okay.
And I give Roger Staubach. Roger Staubach was a football player, but he did serve in the military. He went to the Naval Academy. He did a tour. So
you can make that case.
Yeah, some you can get, Skip. But like I said, you look at a Jesse Owens, or you look at a John Carlos, or you look at a Muhammad Ali.
Okay. Got it.
Some people you can get, and I don't know who would be the white equivalent of a Muhammad Ali or Jesse Owens or John Carlos, Skip. But you get the point of where I'm going with this.
Yep.
So but like you said, Skip, the Constitution gives him certain powers: presidential medal of freedom, pardon powers. He gets to use them at his discretion. So,
if you wanted my 2 cents, I'd say. You should say thank you, but no thank you.
You would take
it? That time. I would not take it.
Especially, I just don't. I don't think in good conscience you probably you could, especially after Wednesday. But Skip, if you're in his corner, Wednesday doesn't bother you. That's the thing.
That's the problem.
Exactly. Yeah, it bothers us, but
I think it should bother anybody who loves this country.
It should not. Skip, what we've seen is that people love that man more than they love this country. Because you see the investigation they're opening up, like you said, I think it's an inside job. Well, the Pentagon think it might have been an inside job.
Which may require him to pardon himself before he exits.
Can't do that.
Yep. Okay.
Well, I was wondering what Bill Belichick was doing over the weekend. Was he watching Tom Brady? Was he watching him get that win? Because on Saturday, Brady and the Bucs got their postseason off on the right foot with a win in Washington. While yesterday, Drew Brees and the Saints had no trouble beating the Bears and will now face the Buccaneers for the third time this season. New Orleans already handed Tampa 2 losses this season, including the 38-3 thrashing Week 9. Brady had 3 picks. We remember that game very well. Shannon, what shot do you give Brady to win round 3 versus Brees?
Well, he has a shot to win the round, Skip, because it's football. You know, in the football, like if it was 2 out of 3, it would already be over with because the Saints run the first 2 and we never have to see a third game. But each game it's by itself. So now the first 2 games really don't matter. It gives you a blueprint of what we need to do and what we can do to have success. But I've always felt, Skip, I like playing a team in a rematch. I like being the team that had lost because now you have my undivided attention. Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich has the offense undivided attention on what they need to do. Todd Bowles has the defense. Bro, they hung 38. It could have been 50.
It should have been.
So
they fumbled at the 2-yard line.
At the 2-yard line, yes. Yep. So I just believe it's each time that I've lost in the regular season to a team and had to play that team in the playoffs, Skip, we won. Did it in 97. We lost to Kansas City, lost the playoff, went back in the playoffs, won. Did it to Pittsburgh in the regular season, went back in the playoffs, and won. So anytime we lose, you lose. I feel that I'm in an advantageous situation because you're going to be looking at it like, hey, we keep the same game plan. Hey, this was perfect. While they're in the kitchen cooking, concocting something different. The Saints have done a great job. They can do something that very few teams can do. Not only could they pressure Brady with 4, but their back end with Lattimore, Jenkins, Malcolm Jenkins, Jack Rabbit, Janoris Jenkins, the secondary, the safeties, they do a great job. Jenkins did a great job neutralizing Gronk one-on-one. And so now Hendrickson's going to be the key for me, Skip. Now, he missed last week. He's been dealing with a neck issue. He's the guy that they can't block. It doesn't matter what side he lines up on. He gives it to Donovan Smith. He gives it to Tristan Wirth.
Well, at least he did on that fateful Sunday night.
Skip, if you look at it, his 2 worst QBR games this season came against the Saints. He had a QBR of 6 in the last game. They lost 38-3. 5 of his 12 interceptions against this team. Can you pressure him with 4 without compromising your secondary? The Saints do a very good job of that, and I believe they have the offensive firepower. Because, Skip, again, I tell you, I say, Skip, I see some things. Even when they blew out Green Bay, I say, Skip, I see some weaknesses. I see some vulnerabilities in there. If you get the right person, they're going to be in trouble.
Well, it got had by Taylor Heineke. Saturday night.
He was playing his Heine off on Saturday night, Skip.
But he was making me think about drinking Heineken, and I don't even drink.
So, yes, can Brady beat them? But I think this is the matchup that suits the Saints really well in what they do offensively and defensively, and they'll be ready for the challenge.
So you are leaning heavily toward New Orleans at home?
Yes.
Okay. So just for the record, in the 22 times a team has beaten the other team twice and gone into the third time's not the charm game, that team has won 14 and lost 8. So the team that won the first 2 has swept 14 to 8 times.
I was on one of the teams that got swept.
Really?
We lost to the Raiders twice in the regular season and went out the wild card round and got beat again.
Really? What year was that?
93. But Skip, they beat us, but I beat them. I dropped 13 for $1.56 on the tub.
How do you remember these numbers?
That's what I did to them.
Exactly.
Yeah. I put it on them.
You have these numbers like
I just put it on them. I can't remember. That was my
before every show. Do you just go over your numbers of your own achievements. Like, I got to remember, 13 for 156.
You know, I had to draw a little something. Skip it out by coming out.
They're just burned in your memory.
No, what happened was I did a number on them in the last game because Skip, if we win that game, the Raiders come to us, we win the division. They won the game, we had to go back out there. I remember walking out the field, Howie Long, who was playing, that was his last year playing in the Raiders, he said, man, he's like, Shannon, look, he said, you good, but you're not your brother. You're not as good as your brother. I said, okay. So I come back out the next week. I dropped 13 for $150 on him. I said, Howie, what about now? He said, that was a hell of a performance, but your brother's still better than you.
Wow. Okay.
So
interesting.
That was me and Howie's story. But he said you good, but you're not your brother.
Okay. So what do I always tell you about Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr.?
You ain't gonna bet against it.
The one man in sports I do not bet against would be that man. He is up against it this time. This is the worst matchup in football for him. Mm-hmm. There's nothing good about this matchup. But he's the one guy you wouldn't want to mess with in a third game. So I'm giving him a shot just because he's Tom Brady and just because I believe he's playing at a little higher level than Drew Brees is right now.
Well, I hope he is, Skip, considering Drew just came off 11, broke, cracked, and the collapsed ribs and the collapsed lung. He better be.
And Drew was okay yesterday, but he had a QBR in the 50s, like it's 56. So it's just like okay.
He was off just a little bit because the pass that he threw to Malcolm, Mike Thomas, that play normally Mike catches it over his shoulder and turns up the field. This time he had to turn his back, catch it, and the DB got an opportunity to make the play. There was a couple of plays that I saw Drew normally hits, and it's a big game. It's a bigger game than what that was.
So I sum up this third clash as Brady is playing at a little higher level than Brees, but I will concede this. New Orleans is much better on defense than Tampa. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be up to to Tom Brady to go into the house of Drew Brees, that Superdome in New Orleans, and outscore him. And he may have to get close to 40 to do this. Could he get up to 40 on that New Orleans defense? It's highly doubtful. But they are cooking on offense right now.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to remind everybody, Washington had a defense that Pro Football Focus ranked third in the NFL going into Saturday night's game, the wild card game at Washington. Mm-hmm. And Tom Brady hung with their total offense 507 yards on a Washington defense that hadn't given up anywhere near that many yards. So you got to give him and his offense, because Leonard Fournette, that was the busiest I've seen his feet all year. He moved better than he has moved all year for the Buccaneers.
Well, what are they able to do? They were able to run the football.
They were.
So those linemen just couldn't pin their ears back and get out the
And I saw the play-action pass that I didn't see for maybe the first 10 or 12 games of the year.
And you had guys. Skip, I mean, look, Tom was fabulous, but the guys were wide open. He A.B. wide open. Mike Evans, Godwin, Cameron Brate.
Yep.
So I think the key for this game is that Leonard Fournette or whomever, Roe Jones, we're going to have to run the football.
I don't know what happened to Ronald Jones. He pulled his quad in the warm-ups.
Oh, my goodness.
Because he was scheduled to start.
Get out where? I was like, well, damn. And then Bond fumbled the ball, so it might be a while before he see the field again.
He's my little man from Vanderbilt, and he's a little power plant, but when you're a rookie and you're playing for Tom Brady and you commit a big turnover
in the playoffs.
In a playoff game, you are doghouse.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid we won't see him again after a couple of nice runs from little Keyshawn Vaughn.
I mean, remember what happened with Roe Jones when he fumbled against the Giants, Skip?
Boom. Exactly. So my point is that your man, Tony Dungy, you said you had him on your pod. You brought it up 4 or 5 times. Mm-hmm. He made a statement in this game, in the fourth quarter of this game, that he had hinted at earlier in the game. He made the point and the case that Tom Brady is playing better than he ever has because of his pocket feet. I know you don't listen to the sound, but the throw that he made later, it's mid-fourth quarter to Mike Evans, where he had to ballet dance to his left. He's got great pocket feet. He obviously can't run down the field because he ran the ugliest 40-yard dash in the history of the combine. But his pocket feet are sweet. So he makes a move to the left and stops and throws across his body with some mustard on it to Mike Evans. And this prompted Tony Dungy to double down on the fact that he thinks that's why Tom Brady, I don't know if we have the sound of it, but he said that's why. Here we are.
what Tom Brady is doing better than when I was coaching against him, moving around in the pocket. Here he steps to his left, moves back, just that little step away from the pressure. Off the spot, still on target with the throw.
I mean, obviously it helps the guy 6 feet 6 inches tall who caught that ball, and he's really good, and he sucked it up and played on a wounded knee.
And it helps when Ronald Darby is backpedaling to Baltimore.
Okay.
I mean, where's he going, Skip?
Okay, I got it. But your man, Tony Dungy, who disrespected Tom Brady on your podcast, did he not put him like 6th all time?
Yeah.
Didn't he rank him? But then at the very end of the game, he was gloating about how this is the GOAT. That's why he's the GOAT. That's what Tony Dungy said live on NBC.
Skip, you know, sometimes, like you said, we can be prisoner of moments.
Okay. Did you egg him on your podcast?
No.
I don't know what happened. Okay, so that's the Brady that I'm going to bet on next Sunday at New Orleans.
They put a stat up. This is the first time, if I'm not mistaken, since week 10 that Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, and Drew Brees has all played in the same game.
I think they've only played 60 total snaps together.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very, very interesting. Like you said, I believe it'll be a high-scoring game. Turnovers get amplified, get magnified times 5. But I just believe the Saints, the Saints knew in order to get to where they needed to be, they were probably going to have to face Tom Brady, and they're probably going to have to face Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, so I'm going to put in perspective what happened in the 2 games against New Orleans. First game, opening Sunday at the Superdome. Tom Brady's all-new team, all-new coaching staff with only virtual preseason, no preseason games. And he goes out, and it was a long, hard game for him. And he did throw a pick 6. Who was the intended target of the pick 6? Do you recall?
I don't even remember.
A kid named Justin Watson, who was the target of his next pick 6 also. And since week 4, guess how many targets Justin Watson has in this offense?
Has he even been active?
0. No, he plays special teams. Okay, so he has been active playing special teams, but he has 0 targets since week 4. He's trying to throw 2 to him on those little speed outs, and it's just like, whoops.
But Skip, you know that's Tom M.O. He spread the ball around. It doesn't matter if you're on the field, you're a viable option.
Okay.
But Skip, this is why New Orleans brought Drew back. They brought Drew back, I believe, earlier than what they should because they didn't want to lose the division and they wanted to stay at home as long as they possibly could.
Sure.
They said if we face Tom Brady, we want him in the dome. Although it will not be rocking with fans, we still want him at our backyard.
Okay.
That's why they brought him back, Skip. Had Taysom Hill won that game against the Eagles, I don't believe you'd have saw Drew Brees.
Okay. So what happened in round 2 of this Brees versus Brady? It was at Tampa Bay on a Sunday night, and the Bucs had just won 3 straight games to get to 6-2. And what happened that night? There was a new addition, and he was some addition. Tom Brady said, Bruce, we're going to go get that guy. Antonio Brown, we're going to force him into our mix. Wait a second, we're 6-2. Yeah, but maybe we can get better if we pay now so we can be repaid later.
Right.
Well, they suffered. They struggled that night. That was a horrible. I can make a case that was the worst game Tom Brady has played in his career with the QBR.
Worse than KC?
Worse than which game?
The KC, that Monday night in KC?
Oh.
Tom Brady when he was in New England?
It seemed like the whole team was a wreck that night because that was the night everybody said, well, it's time for this franchise to go home.
Right.
You know, like it was all a wreck. But they bounced right back from that, obviously, on to Cincinnati, and they beat Cincinnati, and they went right on to the Super Bowl and beat Seattle.
Got it right.
Okay, so the point in this game was it just looked like he was overmatched. It was 38-3, and to your point, when Drew Brees took the ball, he goes touchdown, fumble at the 2, touchdown, 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 field goal. What? So they couldn't even begin to stop Drew Brees.
Right.
Well, if that happens this Sunday, it'll be game over because they can't compete with that.
So I take it you're going to want your due back, huh? You're going to try to get your due back this week.
Well, it looks like it's going to be about a 7-point spread.
No, it's 3. It's 3. You get no points.
Well, but I was thinking it was going to be bet up to 7. So I was thinking you could give me about 7 right now.
Straight up, no chaser.
Because watch, everybody will be jumping on the bandwagon.
They got to do with me, you and I betting.
It is 3 at this moment,
That's
but
okay.
I was going to see if you'd go up 2 because you are so confident in Drew Brees and company.
There's one guy I don't go up in bets on. That's Thomas Edric Patrick Bayless Jr.
Yeah.
So, no.
Okay. So you'd give me the 3 right now?
No. Straight up.
You're kidding.
Straight up.
He lost 38-3 with a field goal that was kicked with 5:52 left in the game that you laughed at.
They called timeout to kick it.
Yep. So that's all. They were lucky to even get 3 in that game, and you won't even give me 3 in this game?
Nah, it's playoffs.
38-3, and as you said, his 2 worst QBRs of the year were against this team.
Nope.
Come on. I deserve 7, I
Nope.
think.
I'll give me some more due.
Huh. We'll see how that goes.
Give me some more
Shall
due.
we?
I'm feeling good. Feeling good. 2021 is not up to the start we hope, but in the due bet, I'm looking real nice.
In that way. Okay, that's good to know.
No mercy.
Hey, Undisputed listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you.
No mercy.
The third time was the charm for Lamar Jackson to get his first playoff victory with a 20-13 win over the Titans. Lamar had 179 yards through the air with an interception, but racked up 136 yards and an impressive touchdown on the ground. Extremely impressive touchdown on the ground. Shannon, give Lamar a letter grade for his performance.
Skip, I came very, very close to giving him an A with 3 pluses, but I'm just going to give him an A. Because there are some things that Lamar can do that Lamar Jackson will be in the MVP conversation every single year because his legs are dynamic. And I think what they did yesterday is like, Lamar, stop trying to win the game like Mahomes or Rodgers. Use what God gave you. If it's there, go. Now, what Tennessee did, Skip, they played him a 3-3-5. They played 3 down linemen, 3 linebackers, and 5 DBs. And what the first team I ever saw do that was the Chargers in his first playoff game. So what we want to do, we want to get added speed. We want to get defensive backs that can have the equivalent speed.
Yep.
That's great. But if he ever breaks the line and you play in man coverage and the defensive backs have their back to Lamar Jackson, and what they did, they ran by him one time, Skip. He jumps out the window. I say he's going to hit his head on the goalpost. If you run by a guy like him or Kyler Murray, guys that have speed like that at the quarterback position, he going to hit his head on the goalpost. And what did they do? They ran by him. They didn't level off once they got even with him, and boom, out the gate. And when they realized Lamar had the ball, it's too late. He outran all their angles.
Well, I thought they all had angles.
He outran them.
Because they were all in perfect position.
He's already at a head of steam, Skip. It's kind of like I'm in a car. If you're in your car at a dead standstill, and I'm in my car going 100 miles an hour, even though you got a faster car than me, Skip, it's going to take you a while to catch up. Well, they caught me using the end zone. It was too late, Skip. But Lamar, if Lamar would just trust his instinct, Skip, he can throw the ball. It's just a little mechanical. I put a little copy of tape, Skip. Look at this interception.
Well, that was horrible. The first one?
Yeah, Skip.
Malcolm Butler?
Because he waited. Skip, you can't, on the 7 route, you can't wait till the guy's open. Before he breaks, the ball's supposed to be towards the sideline. He throws it inside. Just throw the ball to the sideline, let him catch it, and go out of bounds. Look, he was, Skip, on that situation, Andrews was open earlier. You got to give it to him. And this one right here, Skip, this is the game. That's the game. Before he got that long run, Skip, that's the game. You seal it right there. It's just little things like that.
Then he undid the mistake with his legs.
With his legs.
Yep.
But see, Skip, in certain situations, you might not get a reprieve. He got a reprieve on that one. But he was sensational. Skip, his legs are dynamic. I don't know if we've seen anything like this before, because he can get a crease. And if you see, and they would ask me, well, what's the key to this? Run them out of it. You want to put those little bitty dudes on the field, Skip?
Yep.
Run them out of it. And almost 250 yards yesterday. So Lamar gets an A for what he did yesterday, but there's a few little things that, Skip, if he would throw in anticipation a little better, Skip, with his legs, I want to see him. For the next 3 to 4 years, I would want to see them.
So, on the first interception, which Lamar termed after the game a dumbass interception, it was so bad that I thought maybe the ball slipped out of his hands because he missed it by really 10 yards from where the ball needed to be.
Right.
It was 5 yards left, and it should have been 5 yards right.
Right.
What is that about? He's not. He can throw darts now.
Yes.
So how do you throw it so far to the left unless it just slipped?
Because you saw the one he threw to Andrews rolling almost out of bounds. He got it was third and 7. He got 17 yards on that one.
I'm glad you brought that up. For me, that was the play of the game. That is 3rd and 7 from your own 28. It's the last player. Oh, we don't have that one. But
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
3rd and 7 from the 28, and they are down 10-0, thanks in part to the dumbass interception. And it feels like the field is tilted. It's their home field toward Tennessee.
Right.
And he escapes to the right on a blitz. Adoree Jackson who can fly also. Yes. He can almost run like Lamar does.
Yes.
So he's chasing him to the boundary. And at the last second, Lamar ropes one up the sideline, and I thought he was throwing it away, throwing it out of bounds. And all of a sudden, big old Mark Andrews is also along the sideline, and he snags it for a 17-yard gain. Well, help me out. If that goes incomplete, if he just threw it away, and you have to punt from your own 28-yard line, and you're down 10-0, wouldn't you have not loved their chances?
I would not have loved their chances. But, Skip, what do we say? When you're rushing, you never let a guy escape to his dominant arm. You force him to go the other way. Adoree Jackson comes on a blitz. He loses contain.
He loses contain.
Lamar gets outside him.
He overran.
Yes.
And then he sped up, and he was all over him. He was right with him.
Yes.
But that's the throw of the game to me. And then, obviously, the run of the game to me is also, people don't remember this, but this is 3rd and 9. 3rd and 9 from the 48-yard line. And it's the Tennessee 48.
Right.
And he goes 48 yards. And at first, I thought he was going to go for, 4 or 5 yards. And then all of a sudden, whoosh.
It's over.
And then another whoosh. And once he hits whatever his top gear is, it's absurd how he is pulling on the DBs who have angles on him. He outran all their angles.
You better not go by him.
Whoops. What?
Kenny Vaccaro say, hey.
Whoa.
I'm just lined up for the PAT.
Right?
Because I ain't got nothing on this one.
Hey, so to me, all told, I'm going to give him an A. In fact, I'm going to put the plus on it.
You going to put a plus?
Yeah, I'm going to put a plus on it because of the degree of difficulty. And he put himself in the hole, but he's down 10-0 with the weight of the world on his shoulder pads because it's been a long time since Baltimore won a playoff game. It's been, 6 years?
Yeah.
Since John Harbaugh won a playoff game. And remember, he had stunk up 2 home playoff games by his standards.
Right.
He was just pathetic in both of them.
He was.
Last year against Tennessee when they got buzzsawed in half, after they had they took effectively 3 weeks off, and he said he was rusty and sluggish. But remember, this year at home, they had lost to Tennessee, and they'd lost to Pittsburgh, and they had lost to Kansas City, and Lamar had not played well in any of those games.
No.
So all of a sudden, you're down 10-0, and I was thinking, Lamar, this is going to be a long, tough day for you.
And there's no love lost, Skip. This goes back to 2000. And I don't know what it is, but the home team can't seem to win the playoff game because the road team in this rivalry seems to always win. If I'm not mistaken, the home team has lost every game, and the road team has won every game.
Well, it goes back to your...
we started in 2000. Right. But, Skip, this kid here with his legs, now, Buffalo can score, but Buffalo got their work cut out because what can Buffalo do? Stop the run. I don't know how you beat them because not only can they run and get points out of it, Skip. They're a high-scoring team with a predominant run offense, and they can keep the ball away from you for 10, 12 minutes.
Yep.
And it gets frustrating. You're like, okay, we got him third. And they always stay, as long as he stays third and manageable.
Yep.
3rd and 1 to 3. Skip, you said they go for it on 4th down. Now, I don't know why the guy jumped outside, but Skip, John Harbaugh's like, he has the utmost confidence in this kid.
He does.
4th and 2? Oh, he going for it. Unless it's on his own 20?
Yep.
That ball better not be close to midfield.
So they ran for 236 at Tennessee. That'll work. And they held that big old stud for Tennessee, Derrick Henry, to 18 carries, 40 yards. That's 2.2 per attempt.
Yes.
Whew.
Skip, you got to play on his side. You got to make him check his feet because if you let him hit a crease, he's a strider. and you want to make him check his feet. You make him want to find out, okay, it's not there, let me cut back, and guys get a chance to get there. But if you let him get downhill, and then I love what Marcus Peters did at the when he got that interception. Well, that's what y'all want to do? Oh, yeah, that's what y'all do. They take a picture, they take selfies on the logo.
At your place. You're talking about what Tennessee did
with Tennessee, yeah. You know that was going to come back.
Obviously, Malcolm Butler got into it with John Harbaugh before the game when John went out and tried to politely ask them to refrain from what they were doing.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's all we need to do. Don't do that, guy.
Okay. It wasn't a great interception by Marcus Peters because the receiver just flat out fell down.
He gave a little nudge at the top of the route, too.
Maybe he did. Maybe he did.
Skip,
but
why
here
would
they
you
came and they said, watch this. The only thing I don't love about that is
15-yard time.
It's 15 yards and it's a couple of minutes left in the game, and it's still a little bit hanging in the balance. But Lamar quickly canceled the 15 yards with his own big game.
Can I ask you a question? Why would you go? I understand Corey Davis was out, but why, if Corey Davis is out, A.J. Brown is the only one. If I'm throwing to a receiver, he's the only one, and he was open. He had a step on Jimmy Smith. He threw his hand up about 5 yards into the route. He had made his mind up. I'm going to that.
Okay, I've told you 1,000 times on the show, I've never been a Ryan Tannehill fan since back.
I like him. He just had a wrong read on that play.
Okay, he has made me eat those words often over the last 2 years, but on that play, that was Tannehill-ish.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't want to try a young receiver on Pete. Because he cluing everything, Skip. He doesn't really like the press. He likes to sit back. He's like an ambush predator. He likes to just sit back. He ain't going to go hunting. He just going to sit back. Okay, now you're going to get him. You get him because he's going to try to do somebody else's job. But if you're not careful, he's going to get you.
Well, I picked Baltimore to win this game.
I did too.
And I picked them to win the Super Bowl. So I'm sticking with it.
You still looking good. You still like your pick.
Hanging right in there. So you've been gloating about all your picks. But and you suddenly are driving the Josh Allen bandwagon. But I like Baltimore's chances at Buffalo.
I actually had Kansas City and Baltimore for the championship game, and I took Kansas City. So I'm sitting pretty. I had Green Bay and New Orleans. I took New Orleans. So I feel I don't feel as comfortable if both teams advance and they got to go to Lambeau when it's 15 degrees. And Drew Brees with that arm, I don't feel comfortable with that, Skip. But I like where I'm sitting right now.
And I loved it. At the end of the day, Lamar just said, you know what? I'm taking it straight to the house with maybe 10 seconds left on the clock as it counted down. And he led his team up the ramp to the locker room on the dead run, saying no shaking of hands.
They asked him why. He's like, what, nothing to shake hands about?
We're going to shake them out.
Wait.
Okay, and I would say
Come on, let go. He's like, come on. Now let go. Let go.
We're out of here. Goodbye.
Let's go.
Come on. Let's go.
We got that.
Let's go. He can't help himself. No, he's just going to talk.
He's looking for confrontation.
Okay. There were some Ravens who obviously have friendships with some of the Titans, and they stayed. Okay, so it wasn't the whole team, but I have no problem with not shaking hands because not only is there no love lost, there's little to no respect here.
No.
Right?
Have y'all done come in here and did all that chirping? Because remember last year, Skip, the guy come out there and Derrick Henry had that big game. He talking about big trust. The guy coming to the stage really doesn't need any introduction. Led the league and run. Everybody chirping. Did the same thing. You see what Cleveland do is celebrate in the locker room after the game, Skip?
I did.
Corvette ran out of gas.
They did. Corvette.
I thought Corvette get good gas mileage.
They said some things we can't repeat on the show. But you know how that goes.
I was worried about Lamar, though, when he ran off, because I'm thinking, as a sideline reporter, wait, we got to do the interview. He did come back to the interview.
He came back,
I was worried about it. He came back. He did the interview with Lisa, so I was all good there. He was just excited. He got the win, finally.
Way
that
to go, Lamar.
Don't let him fool you, Skip. This is just a regular win. No, it's not.
No,
he had heard about he can't win the big game.
He knew the talk. He knew what we were all saying.
No mercy.
The Rams defeated the Seahawks 30-20 and will now head to Green Bay to take on Aaron Rodgers and the top-seeded Packers. The Rams still don't know who will be their starting QB with injuries to Jared Goff and John Wolford. Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp's status is also up in the air after both sustained injuries in the win over Seattle. And according to Fox Bet Sportsbook, the Packers are just a 7-point favorite. So, Shannon, should this spread be higher, actually?
No, I don't think so. I think the thing is that the Packers obviously have a very potent offense. But defensively, they give up plays. Skip. Teams have been able to run the football on them, and with Cam Akers being back, he's shown an ability to run the football. But the Rams have an outstanding defense. Now, we don't know the health of Aaron Donald, and that's going to be key, Skip, because they hounded Russ all game long. Mm-hmm. And, Skip, I don't know, and it hasn't been said, but Russ is going to have to prove he can win a playoff game without the Legion of Boom. Now, we've seen the last couple of playoff games. He has not played well.
Yep.
2 years ago against the Cowboys,
yep.
He did not play well.
He did not.
Saturday, he did not play well. And his defense played well. They kept him in the game. But Russ is going to have to play better in order for Seattle to get to ultimately where they need to be. To back to why the line isn't larger. Skip, I believe because Vegas has the utmost respect for the Rams defense. Jalen Ramsey, now I'm looking for this matchup. Jalen Ramsey and Devontae. Now, DK Metcalf is tailor-made for Jalen Ramsey. Basically, it's athlete versus athlete, physicality versus physicality.
Big on big.
So you basically playing in Jay's hands. Mm-hmm. If you just try to overpower him,
yep.
You're not going to do it because he's stronger than you think. If you watch him when he comes up and attack people on the run, it lets you know he's a physical corner.
He is.
Devontae is a totally different animal. Devontae is more slithery. He's more. I'm not trying to get all your hands on me or none of that. So I'm really looking for that matchup.
Yep.
It's going to be great. The question is, no matter who starts, what can the Packers defense? I'm not worried about the Packers offense because Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to he's going to make some plays. Mm-hmm. The question is, because we've seen in the past, Skip, the Packers defense let them down. We saw it against Atlanta in the championship game. We saw it against the 49ers last year. Can they get a couple of turnovers? The Smith brothers, they've done a great job thus far of rushing the quarterback, but it comes and goes. I believe the reason why the Vegas has the line at 7 is that they have respect for the Rams defense, and they don't believe that Aaron Rodgers will have the level of success that he's had the last month against this defense.
So your instincts were it was going to be higher than 7.
No. I thought it would be somewhere like 4 to 5.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
Well, then they don't have that much respect.
No. They have it, Skip. Well, maybe I got that wrong. I thought the question is who starts for the Rams. Skip, for me, I'm looking at the game on Saturday. The guy that was in there first looked better than Goff.
John Wolford.
Yes, he
looks pretty good.
Now, how's that thumb going to hold up in the cold, Skip?
Okay,
now,
remember, Wolford took a shot to the head and had to go to the hospital, but did return in time to celebrate.
And you gave him the benefit of the doubt. But when Jadeveon Clowney hit Carson Wentz in the back of the head, you talking about he's soft. The exact same play. He
lasted like 4 plays.
How long did Wolford last? 6 plays. You selling the Rams short. That's what you try to do. But see, what you want is somebody to knock. You want the Rams to knock the Packers off. Then Tampa Bay beat New Orleans, and then the Rams would have to come to Tampa. That's what you hoping. You think you're slick, Skip Bayless over there. I know what you're thinking. I know how that little mind of yours works.
Well, the last time the Rams were in Tampa Bay, it was not a pretty sight for Tampa Bay.
But don't you like rematches? You say you like rematches.
I actually like Tampa Bay better on the road than I like them at home.
Okay.
Seriously.
Well, you do the
I don't
Super
know
Bowl
why
is a home
that
game.
is. Huh?
You know the Super Bowl is a home game for
Well, it would be, except that would be the one I'd love to have that one. Okay, this is why I believe this spread should actually be higher. Because if you listen to Aaron last week, he was raving about how good he feels. Remember those quotes?
Yes.
I got them right here. I definitely feel as good as I've ever felt at this point in the season.
He looked it.
I think it's the strongest I've definitely felt, and probably the least sore I've ever felt, because he made every practice. He missed no practices the whole year, and he said he had one of those magical years where he avoided all the unlucky shots or, something where somebody rolled on him or whatever. Nothing went wrong.
Well, that sounds like a Brady and Manning. You don't miss any practices because you don't let them see the backup.
Okay.
That's why you don't miss no practices, Skip. They did draft
maybe
the guy
that was happening. Maybe that was working. But Aaron has always said, what I want is those 2 home games off a bye week at Lambeau.
Correct.
He's never had this before.
Right.
I remind you, he had one wild card run to a championship.
Right.
It was 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And since then, he is 6-7 in the postseason. And last seen in the postseason was at San Francisco last year. His QBR was 23 on a scale of 0 to 100. because he threw 2 interceptions and lost a fumble. So he had 3 turnovers against they were crazy hot 49ers.
Right.
I got it. But now he got what he has wished for. He's got 2 home games to the Super Bowl, but you got to win the first one to get the second one, obviously. And then you could go to Tampa Bay and play on Tom's stage by yourself.
Nice sunny weather.
Could be. You also got your games at Lambeau. What did Davante Adams say after the Bears game, after they beat the Bears to clinch their number 1 seed? He's talking about playing at Lambeau at this time of year in a playoff game. It's a world of difference. People play different. People act different. People talk different. Everything is different. It's a beast playing in that weather, just being in that environment. It takes people's confidence away. Your big brother played there. You went to some games. I assume you went to some. Did you go to playoff games?
No, I went to when they played Minnesota.
Yep.
It's a different animal.
Okay.
That's a different type of cold. I mean, you think you know cold, but going in December and January to in the Lambeau, unless you're a polar bear, you shouldn't even be outside.
Okay, but I have watched Aaron lose games at home to Eli Manning and Colin Kaepernick in that cold.
But it's going to take. You see what Cap did. It took a Hercules. Now, if you're going to let Cap go run for 140 yards, the running back run for 140, and Eli.
That game that day, it was almost too cold to play football. In fact, I felt for him because I thought it marred the beauty of the game where it's just too cold to even be outside.
You talking about the first one, the one they lost to the Giants, where Tom Coughlin's face had frozen.
No, but I was thinking about even the Colin Kaepernick game.
Yeah.
It was freezing that day.
Yeah, it gets.
Colin just took the game over, but he could run it as well as throw it.
Right. I don't see Jared Goff or the other guy running.
So now to your point, all of a sudden you get more good breaks because Jared Goff is coming in there with 3 pins in his right thumb, and if it's going to be that cold, is his thumb going to be aching? Probably it will.
They showed it on the sideline. You see how big it was compared to the other thumb?
Bandaged up. Okay. And I don't know if Walford will clear concussion protocol by some.
Whether concussion or whether the stinger?
I don't know.
Because it was like
he took him to the hospital. It was.
Well, it said like his neck because it was like pressing down and he's like, ow.
Okay. So now, Aaron Donald, I assume, has cracked ribs, fractured ribs.
He heard him fall on the quarterback.
Okay. Well, Russell fell on him. And listen, Russell's no small man.
Right.
I mean, he's stout.
I don't know if he might have took like some cartilage, Skip, and that even whatever the case may be, Skip, it's the sudden movement. You can put some numbing medication in there.
Well, it looked like he was having a hard time breathing coming to the sideline.
I had that. You could put some numbing medication in there, Skip.
Yeah.
But it's the sudden movements. You know, I'm trying to catch a pass. You see how active Aaron Donald is with his hands?
Yep.
Now all of a sudden he can't be that. How effective can he be? And then you always run the risk of the Tyrod Taylor. They go in there too deep and puncture a lung.
Which I think they warn you of that. They should.
They absolutely do.
Okay. So then I watched Cooper Kupp, who's the security blanket for Jared Goff. I watched him limp off the field to the locker room.
It looked like he banged knees or something.
I don't know, but Sean McVay said after the game, we expect him to be ready to play.
Right.
So I hope he's okay for their sake.
Right.
Because they're going to go in there, and it's going to be Jalen Ramsey on Davante, I assume, the whole game.
Right.
And I'm going to warn them that they're going to know this from their field study. Do you realize Aaron targeted Davante Adams 149 times? That was 86 more than the second targets on the team, which went to Valdez-Scantling or to Aaron Jones.
Okay.
So those two, because he's flipping it to Aaron Jones. But they had 86 fewer targets, and I remind everybody, Davante missed 2 games. So Aaron's just going to go to him.
Yes.
Whether you like it or not, he's going to him.
And they do a great job of moving him. They put him in motion, Skip. They put him in the slot. They line him up out wide. They put him in the stack. They're going to get him the ball now.
Okay. And I'm going to remind you also that Darius Williams has come out of nowhere, undrafted out of UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham. And he picked 6th Russell the other day. You might now see a better film study than what you saw with that. That's right up there with the now the stakes were a little higher. That?
Yeah, Skip. Now, obviously the Malcolm Butler, Skip. But that's film study. That you know the inside guys are going to come. He's like, oh, I got to beat you to the punch.
Yep.
Beat him to the punch.
Well, obviously you can also get burned on that. But he just knew it and smelled it and jumped it. And that other kid that starts for them, Troy Hill, he's ranked high by Pro Football Focus. So they have 3 very good corners, including, obviously, a guy a lot of people think is the best corner.
Right. And this is why you give J. Ram 20 mil.
Okay.
Okay, you want 20 mil? Okay, we got that, bro. We got you. Okay, you got DK Metcalf. You got Devontae Adams. You got whomever their best receiver is, whoever claim. If anybody on social media say he's the best, you got him too, because I know you on social media. So this is why they pay him the big bucks. He's a Pro Bowler. He's first-team All-Pro. Let's go.
So Aaron Donald had 13.5 sacks, but Leonard Floyd came kind of out of nowhere to have 10.5 sacks. He got rejected, put on the trash heap by the Bears after they took him in the.
But think about this, Skip. And he came from he was in the Bears. That's the defense the Bears run.
Yep.
And maybe they didn't use, but if you look at his sacks, Skip, he got 7 sacks against Russ. He got $1.5 million thanks to Russ.
Okay, and Morgan Fox and Brockers, they can both bring it too. So all of a sudden, be careful what you wish for, Aaron, because, I don't know, you get to play against Jared Goff, your former Cal quarterback, you're both from Cal, but Jared Goff's got pins in his thumb, and I assume it's going to have to be Jared Goff. So can you overcome Jared Goff? Well, I would think you should be able to.
I mean, if you look at, Skip, of the 4 teams in the NFC, who do you think has the worst defense?
Of the 4 left, well, Tampa does by far.
And at one point, we thought they had the best defense.
Well,
a lot of people thought they had.
At 6-2, people were talking about this could be the best defense. They might have the best coordinator.
Yeah,
I love Todd Bowles.
They get Devin White back.
Yep.
So he's probably he can make a difference. It's gonna be interesting. We're gonna be interested, but. Skip it. Aaron wanted this. He says, I want a home playoff game in January. Well, I want 2. But
Aaron,
you got to win 1 first.
And your opponent, the opposing quarterback, is wounded. So you better take care of business.
You know Aaron is not a defensive player, right? So you need to tell that to the Smith brothers, Zadarius and the other Smith president.
Okay, we'll see.
Okay,
Aaron
you
wants
need
some respect.
Clark and all those guys.
Okay, and they might ought to think about tackling Cam Akers.
Right?
No mercy.
Saturday, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers got their postseason off on the right foot with a win in Washington. While yesterday, Drew Brees and the Saints dismissed the Bears and will now face the Bucs for the 3rd time this season. The Saints won both prior meetings, but the Bucs come into this one having won 5 straight games. Fox Sports NFL analyst Michael Vick is with us now. So, Michael, which 40-something old quarterback is playing at a higher level right now, Brady or Brees? And by the way, Brees' birthday coming up on Friday. He'll be 42.
All right, well, happy birthday to Drew. But right now, I think Tom playing at a super high level right now, and I won't take anything away from Drew. But I will say this, Drew, he had the rib injury, and he missed a couple games, and it could have set him back a little bit in terms of the feel for the game and having to get back into a flow for the game, and that was kind of evident last night. The accuracy, it was there at times, but I thought balls was thrown behind guys, and Drew didn't look as comfortable in the pocket as he normally does. Tom, on the other hand, looks good in the pocket. His arm looks alive. At the age of, 43, he actually looks like he's coming back for another year or 2, and it shows. It's evident. And for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the last 3 games of the season, they're on a 5-game winning streak, but the last 3 games of the season, I think really got this team in sync collectively, and I think it galvanized everybody, and it put them in the comfort level where they really felt good about themselves coming into the playoffs, and it showed. But obviously now Tom feeling good about his game and everything looking like it was supposed to look early in the season. I like them moving forward. So this game this week is going to be extremely important. I don't know if the New Orleans Saints can beat this team 3 times in a row, because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be ready this time around, and I think they're getting Tom Brady while Tom Brady is in full form.
Mike, let me ask you a question. You're the older brother, right? You're older than Marcus, right?
Yeah, I'm older.
How many times did you beat Marcus? All of them, because you were just better. That's what it comes down to. Yeah. All this notion about, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. No, it's not. If you better. My brother beat me until I was better than he was. That's just how it works, Mark. Mike, you know that.
Wait, when were you ever better?
Man, stop doing that. I beat him in the backyard. That's what I count.
Hey, Sterling was a beast, man.
Hey, I beat him in the backyard. That's what I'm talking about. Hold on, wait a minute. Really? One guy had 11 cracked and broke ribs and a collapsed lung. I better hope the other guy's playing better than he is. If he's not, what is he on, a ventilator? Skip, stop this notion. You know what? You gonna get your day. Your day gonna come, because you got all these little topics in there talking about Tom. Tom has played well down the stretch.
Well. You're selling them way short.
Great.
Mike, is the Falcons defense any good? Yes or no? It's a simple yes or no. Are the Falcons defense any good?
They're
Because
okay. They're okay. They
finished
hard.
dead last,
I'm
Mike.
gonna say this, but they play hard. They play hard. And Shay, I don't care what defense you line up in front of. If you're able to go out and you're able to just annihilate the defense, and that's what Tom Brady did.
Okay, how about this here?
Go out there and annihilate any defense. I don't care what they rank, 1 through 32.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Did he annihilate the Saints defense in either the game that he played? Yes or no?
No, he did.
Okay, what about the Rams? Yes or no? What about Chicago?
Hey, look,
yes or no?
Hey, look, it's about what's happening now.
Okay. Hold on.
You got to lead the pass, and the pass has short-term memory.
But you,
keep it moving.
But you said,
you know that, baby.
But you said he was playing great. I'm saying he's playing
great. I said the last 3 games.
Yes, against bad
teams.
But has he played great against good teams? That's my question. Because teams are in the playoffs, I thought were good. Are the teams in the playoffs good? Yes or no?
Yeah, teams in the playoffs good.
Okay.
And last week we talked about the football team and their pass rush, and we didn't talk too much about the secondary or where they was ranked or how good they really are overall as a defense. But we knew that Tom was going to have some problems in front of him and was going to be faced with some problems going against that pass rush. And what did he do?
Heineke, Heineke had a high QBR than Tom Brady. Did you know that, Skip?
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
He did not.
Yeah, the rush yard. Skip, here's the thing, though. He started the game, he was off because he was like 3 of 10 on his first 13 passes, and then he got hot in the middle, and then he kind of cooled off again. So the question is, if he starts, because what we've seen, Skip, when he starts cold against good teams, it's hard for him to get on track. He started cold against the Saints. He started cold against the Rams. He started cold against Chicago. Started cold against my homeboy. Drew Brees has the type of offense. You start cold, they can put 24, 28 points on you, and then you never see them again.
Did you really think he started cold on Saturday night? I must have watched a different game.
Yeah, look at the numbers. Look at the numbers.
They put up more yards on Washington than anybody has, and it wasn't even close. They put 507 yards up on that defense ranked 3rd by Pro Football Focus.
All I'm saying, if you look at him early, Skip, in the beginning of the game, in the middle, he got really good, and then towards the end, he tailed off again. Skip, if you miss all those passes, he had 18 incompletions. 18.
Yeah, Shannon, but it's a defense out there. This ain't 7-on-7. This ain't practice.
They were.
The playoffs.
They were.
Give a man a break.
They were. They were the defense out there. Washington put a football team put a defense out there. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they had. Yeah, I mean, when you got to go through defenders and tight holes and tight windows, man, every man that lines up behind the center deserves credit for that because it's not an easy task. It was hard for John Elway to find you, Shay. It was hard for him.
Well, I made it easy.
It was hard.
So before I go on this, I would like to ask Mr. Vick, what does it feel like you are 40 years of age and you're watching a 40, soon to be 42-year-old play a 43-year-old, both playing at very high levels, obviously, for their ages or even for anybody's age?
Yeah.
So what does that do to you when you're watching them? Do you sit back and think, man, maybe I should have tried longer, I should have stuck with it? What's your gut on this?
Yeah, well, I know we'll get into a segment with Lamar later, but watching him always makes me want to come back and come out of retirement and see where I'm at. But, I do think about that at times. But, I think for me, the gratitude in watching Drew and Tom at their age, I'm sort of living vicariously through them. Like the passion that they still bring to the game. Drew and his ability to go out and win the game when he's not 100% healthy, when his arm is not the strongest, when he's not probably feeling at his best, still finding ways to pull it out. I take gratitude in that, and just watching them and just like living vicariously through them. So it's a really cool thing to see. And at the age of 42 and 43, it's hard. They're better than, 60% of the quarterbacks in the league and still able to go out and find ways to win and get it done with whoever is out there on the field with them. So the biggest compliment go to those guys and the hard work and effort that they put in over the last couple of years.
Well, you got to avoid big hits, and that's what Tom has been able to do. Drew has been able to.
They figured out how to do that. I want to knock on wood for both of them.
You see Tom? Tom, like, I'm not taking it. You get close to Tom, Tom say, oh, you got me.
They got him 3 times, but he just folds, man.
Yes.
It's like drop and roll, right?
That way, they fall on top of you, but they got to hit the knee.
Yep.
You don't want them to tackle you to the ground. And Tom has mastered that. Drew has done a great job of that. Live to see another day. Mike, you took too many shots early. You should have, if you'd have been thought, if you look back on it now, like, you know what?
That's true.
I should have just went on out of bounds, got down.
Yep. I think about that too.
Well,
Look, I know we'll get into it later, but yeah, I think about that
well,
too.
the first 2 years in Philadelphia, my God.
I was one of those guys that felt like I had to get every yard. I'm talking about if it was third and 3 and I got the 3, I'm going for 4 with 2 defenders in front of me. And you know, it set me back. It hurt me in terms of longevity. Thank God I don't feel it now, but you know, it was super evident when I was playing as far as how I felt, and towards the end, I felt like that kind of derailed me a little bit.
So, Michael, my man across the table, Shannon Sharpe, does not want to hear this, but I've been trying to tell him all year, Tom Brady is still Tom Brady. And his man, Tony Dungy, the star of your podcast, said live on national TV on NBC on Saturday night, Tom Brady has never played better than he's playing right now because his pocket feet are so sweet. He moves so well to create time and space in the pocket. And we saw the one late throw to Mike Evans, cross-body after he did a little ballet dance to the left. And you're not giving him enough credit for its mind plus feet. Obviously, it's supreme experience, plus the arm talent has not gone anywhere. You said it's declined. I don't see any decline in arm talent.
What Tony didn't say, this is the most talent that Tom Brady has ever had.
Agreed. I agree.
Ever. More than 2007, more than any year. This is the most talent offensively that Tom Brady has ever played with.
Okay, so I'm going to remind you, in the first game at New Orleans, he was with all new receivers, all new coaching staff, and no preseason. They played not one preseason game. It was all virtual. They were practicing. He was throwing to these guys in some public park in Tampa before they got quarantined, run out of the park. Then that day at New Orleans, he's throwing to Justin Watson and got pick 6 on a throw to Justin Watson, who then was the target of another pick 6 in the second game. Justin Watson hasn't received a target from Tom Brady since week 4.
Should.
Okay? So then what happened? They got to 6-2 without Antonio Brown. 6-2, and everybody's saying, wow, look at the Bucs, the defense, the offense, that they might be the best team in pro football. And Brady said, no, we're not. We've got to go get Antonio Brown, and we got to force him into our mix. And I'm sure Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and even Gronk and Cameron Brate, I don't think they loved it. You know, they said, okay, we'll try to roll with it. But it took a while for them to figure each other out. How does the rotation work with Antonio? And all of a sudden, they are clicking, they are gelling, they are taking off right on time.
But what Antonio did, Skip, is that Antonio might take some food off the table, but the food that you get to eat will be better. Okay, the target, he took targets away from you. But
those 2 Pro Bowl kids have to understand you're going to sacrifice for the greater good of our team.
But you see how easy, you see how open Mike Evans is? You see how open Chris Godwin is?
But they didn't make the Pro Bowl. Because they're not going to make the Pro Bowl. Antonio's not going to make the Pro Bowl, but you have 3 targets. And how about Gronk? On Saturday night, he got 1 target in the back of the end zone. It was high, and he couldn't get his feet down. But that was it. He caught no balls, and they won fairly easily.
You got to be willing to sacrifice.
You got to be willing.
I'm sure everybody, hey, Mike, you know this, everybody we used to, Skip, you wanted to make the Pro Bowl because the Pro Bowl was held after the Super Bowl. When you go to the Super Bowl, you win it, now you get to go over there, you the toast of the town. Everybody buying you drink, hey, man, congratulations, yada, yada, yada. So everybody wants to do that, but you don't get that. So would I be willing to sacrifice maybe going to the Pro Bowl to get to the Super Bowl? Hell yeah. Pro Bowl.
Well, you would be, but they had to grow up and realize this, right?
Once you realize at the end of the day how you're judged, that championships actually matter. Because when you start having these debates when it comes to historically great or Hall of Fame level players, well, but he never won a championship.
Okay. So go ahead, Mike.
No, go ahead. So I would say more than anything, when talking about that, should you take a lot of pressure off Mike Evans and Godwin having Antonio Brown around.
Okay. So I'm going to sum this up by saying Tom Brady is definitely playing at a higher level than Drew Brees. But this is his worst matchup because the New Orleans defense, to me, is much better than Tampa's defense. So Brady's going to have to go in there and outscore Drew Brees. And he might have to get to 35-ish to do this. Okay? And I think he is highly capable because I do not bet against Tom Brady, especially when the third time could be the charm.
To beat Tom, you also have to be able to score points, Skip. You got to score points. If you look at it, you're not going to beat him scoring no 17, no little 20.
No.
Every once in a while you might, but more times than not, you look at what Drew was able to get to. You look at what Mahomes was able to get to.
Yep.
You probably got to get to the 30s to beat him. The way they're playing right now offensively, you're going to need to be in the 30s.
That's why Tom the greatest of all time. It's because he's going to always find a way to beat you. He'll always find a way to beat you. I don't care if New Orleans won 2 games in a row. Tom finds ways to win football games, and it's been evident throughout the course of his career.
Yeah, and you know that those losses are definitely motivating Tom Brady as he goes into that one.
No mercy.
Thursday, Big Ten favorites face off on FS1. Tom Izzo's 23rd-ranked Michigan State Spartans battle Player of the Year frontrunner Luka Garza and number 5 Iowa in one of the most anticipated conference games all season. That's Thursday at 9 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Lamar Jackson was able to get his first career playoff win against the Titans yesterday. And along the way, Lamar had this dazzling 48-yard touchdown run that drew Michael Vick comparisons on social media and had the name Vick trending on Twitter. Michael Vick is, of course, still with us now. Mike, I have to say, when I saw it, I thought about you as well. So how much did this run remind you of you?
I mean, everything Lamar does reminds me of myself. And, you know, the fact that he's doing it at such a high level in today's game, today's time when defenders are faster, stronger, I mean, more elite. And even though he's doing it with a scheme behind it, a blocking scheme and lead blockers, it still doesn't matter. It's Lamar at his best. He's the elite of the elite. I always felt like I was one of one when I played, and Lamar right now is definitely one of one. And it's a lot of quarterbacks in this league that, you know, they're in their own, you know, brackets. They're in their own categories, and they, you know, some that look the same and there's some that doesn't. Lamar, you know, he looks like Lamar Jackson, and that's it. And you know, can't compare him to anybody. You know, he's one of the best at his position, respectively. And you know, his feel for the game has gotten better. His maturity level has gotten better. His accuracy has improved, if you ask me. And the most important thing that Lamar did this year was around week 9, 10. He just threw everything out the window. He just started being himself. And if it takes for him to throw for 180 a game and rush for 160, then so be it. You know, I like it. And it's entertaining. And it's so good to see for the game of football. But he's going to continue to get better and better. And, you know, this is going to be a scary team next week in Buffalo and throughout the playoffs. You know, I really feel like they got a chance to take it to the next level. I won't speak too soon on that. You know, it's all in the hands of Lamar and the defense. But right now, trending in the right direction.
When I saw him take off, I was thinking about that run you had in overtime against the Vikings. You kind of went through a crack just like that. And by the time they realized what was going on, because they came with a blitz and they messed around and let contain. I said, if he jumps out the window, and now here it is. Everybody's scrambling.
Yeah.
Everybody trying.
You know, the thing, and look, it was an amazing play, man. And thank God I had the speed to split like 5 people, you know. And Lamar has that speed, but we drop back looking to pass.
Right.
Drop back looking to throw the ball down the field. And sometimes, Skip, Shay, that's what opens everything up. I mean, we started the play out with the right intentions, and that's looking downfield, eyes downfield. So now the defenders get lured to sleep. They see us looking, and then it's a crack. It's just the God-given field that we got to be thankful for allows us to do some amazing things. And, man, that run right there yesterday, it'll be a run if they go through and win it all. That was the run that catapulted them, I think, to this victory yesterday.
And so, guys, when you look at it, Mike, you know this. They're playing Tennessee's playing a 3-3-5, 3 down linemen, 3 linebackers, 5 DBs. And what you try to do is you always try to keep your eyes on Lamar. If you ever turn your back on him, he hits a crease. When you realize what's going on, he's already up to full speed.
Too late.
He's going to outrun any angle that you possibly might have. And so I can assure you, the little bit of fans that they had, they start hearing the roar. They're like, okay, we got him. Well, no, we don't. No, we don't got him. Because the next thing you know, you turn around and he's right there. Well, it's too late. It's too late.
Yeah.
And like I said, a guy like yourself and he and Kyler Murray, once you get even, you flatten off. If you run by them, they're looking to jump out and they're going to hit the head on the goalpost. And that's what he did yesterday. Give him credit because, like you said, Mike, he's like, man, they tried to get me to throw for 300 yards. That'll be fine and good. But I got these legs. They feeling fresh. I'm out.
Yep.
See you in the end zone, fellas.
Yep.
So, Michael, I love what you said about Lamar, 1 of 1. Michael Vick, in his day, 1 of 1. Nobody like either one. I still say the Michael Vick experience in Atlanta, you were slightly more electric and elusive in the open field, just to make you miss elusive. But I got to say, that run yesterday, there was some gear he hit. Yeah. I'm not even sure Michael Vick had that last gear. Because when he hit it, it was over. I thought 3 DBs had the angle on him, and he flat out beat every one of them to the flag. It's like, that's impossibly fast.
It's just like the thing with Mike is Mike went from first to sixth.
Right.
It seemed like like there was no second, third, or fourth.
I agree.
Mike was like first gear, and he's full speed. He's at 6. Okay, meet me in the end zone, fella. Party at 6.
Yep.
And that's what it was. It seemed like Lamar. You could see him like getting faster and faster. And then Skip, you remember the one that the last one that he scrambled? He put the ball in. He had it in his left. He put it in his right. He said, "I better get up out of here on y'all."
Yeah. You know, another thing about Lamar, it seems like as the game goes on, he gets faster and faster. And even when I was watching that run, you know, I'm in my long run against Minnesota, and we talked about just my burst. My burst is what got me into the open field. And then I'm surprised I even finished that run because I didn't have long speed. Yeah. When you got long speed like Lamar,
long speed.
I mean, he continues to just put pressure. I mean, you can break one at any time, and there's no catching him. So what y'all saying as far as the gear, you know, it continues to pick up as he continues to run. I mean, this man he's on a different planet right now.
Yep. So, Michael, I was even more impressed with Lamar yesterday than I've ever been. He showed me things yesterday he has not shown me in the past, even in his MVP year. Obviously, we all know that he came into this game with a lot of weight on his shoulder pads. 2 home playoff games he had not played well in. 3 home games this year against Kansas City and Pittsburgh and Tennessee. He did not play MVP football in. And all of a sudden, thanks to one, as he termed it, dumbass pass that got intercepted. It looked like it slipped out of his hands. It was so far off target. But thanks to that, they're down 10-0, and they're backed up to 3rd and 7 at their 28. It's the last play of the first quarter, and Lamar showed me something with his arm. He escaped on a blitz by Adoree Jackson. He escaped to the right, as we're seeing right here, and he's running to the sideline. I thought he was just going to throw it away, and he threw a rope to Mark Andrews for 17 yards and a first down that I believe saved the game at that point. Because if they have to punt, I don't know. I'm afraid that the stadium's just going to rock right on their head. So, Michael, that throw to you, how sweet is this one? How impressive?
It's impressive because it's a hard throw to make, and you know, you're doing it under duress, which makes it, you know, way more harder to complete that pass. But that's Lamar putting the team on his back. That's Lamar showing resolve, you know, being resilient, and knowing, you know, that you have, you know, an entire, you know, team, you know, on the sideline, you know, all your teammates, all the coaches, you know, watching you and leaning on you and knowing that this game is going to be dependent on how well I perform. And when you accept that role and when you go out and this is by any means necessary and you do whatever it takes and put the team on your back, you know, sky's the limit. So I think, you know, that win yesterday was a character-building win, not just for Lamar, but for the entire team. And hopefully it takes them, you know, into Buffalo with more confidence. And Lamar's going to have to continue to make those plays. This is a step in the right direction. You know, it's not over by any stretch. MVP, you know, the Super Bowl has to be in your sights. So, you know, on the road, step in the right direction. Let's just leave it there.
Defenders, just FYI, when you blitz a guy, do not lose contain to his dominant arm. If you look at Michael Vick, when he escaped in Minnesota, Skip, what did they do? They let him out to the left. Tim Tebow.
By the way, if Michael Vick had made that throw yesterday, it would have been really impressive. Wrong arm, wrong way.
Yeah. You remember Tebow when he beat the Jets? Skip, what did they do? They let him escape to his left.
Nope.
You can't let a guy escape to his dominant arm.
Well said.
Yeah.
So Michael, sum it up. Do you like Lamar and company's chances at Buffalo?
Yeah, I like their chances. I think they beat Buffalo this season in Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken. I watched that game, and, it was a good game. But, on the other side, it's going to be Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I think it was last year,
but he threw darts the whole game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, they better bring the big pads. If you can't stop the run, you can't beat the Ravens.
Yeah, looking forward to that one.
No mercy.
Well, the Steelers season came to an unpleasant end last night with a 48-37 loss to the Browns. Pittsburgh was the last undefeated team at 11-0 earlier this season, but then 1-5 over their last 6 games, including last night's loss. Fox Sports NFL analyst and former Steeler Michael Vick is still with us. So, Michael, what was the biggest reason for the Steelers' collapse?
Man, I think yesterday it just started out bad. It didn't start out good. The snap that went over Ben's head and resulted in a touchdown. I just felt like it was going to be hard to come back from that against the Cleveland Browns team who was hungry and searching for their first playoff win in a long time. I think that played a big part of their demise yesterday, and it didn't start well. Like I said, but this team has been trending in the wrong direction for a long time, and I bleed black and gold. I love the Pittsburgh Steelers organization from the time I stepped in there and from the time that I left. But it just seemed like yesterday, even though they came back and they fought, it was somewhat of a changing of the guard type of sense. This team has been decimated by injuries all season. You got guys like Bud Dupree and Devin Bush out. And these are the type of players that need to be on the field when things are not going well, when there's a lot of turmoil on the field. Those are the type of players that can bail you out, along with the rest of the guys that's been assembled on that team. So they just didn't have that down the stretch, throughout the season. They didn't have it yesterday. They did enough to come back. But it just wasn't about Big Ben and the offense. The defense had to step up too. So, I think in football, the defense has to play better than the offense, on any Sunday. Sometimes it can vary. It can go either way, but that just wasn't the case for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the defense, because of injuries, failed this team this year.
Mike, you mentioned this team had been trending in the wrong direction for a long period of time. Skip, I was telling and, getting into it with people on social media and talking and even debating some of my friends. I said, guys, you got to stop looking at 8-0, 9-0. There's an undercurrent here.
11-0.
11-0. Skip, I remember having this conversation with some fans in Kansas City. I said, they commit the dumbest penalty at the most inopportune time. Hey, but we won the game. And what happened? D Ford lines up offsides and cost them an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. I said, see, this is what happens. I say, when you can't run the football, when you need to run it, it's going to bite you. 3rd and 1, they can't get a first down. 3rd and 1, Ben has got to throw. Guys get their hands up, getting interceptions. Ben's inability to push the ball down the field. Skip, they sitting on everything. The reason why none of these balls are falling incomplete, because everybody's close to the line of scrimmage. Ain't no way that many Carrots supposed to get intercepted, Mike. You've seen Carrots and they hit the ground because the field is spread. Well, when everybody's tight to the line because they're not worried about you throwing the ball overhead, anything that's not called cleanly is going to get picked. And I don't know what the Steelers are going to do. Now, they need a running back, and they need to get them linemen out of them up stance and put their hand in the dirt and come off the rock. Because their inability to run the football is hurting them. And Ben not pushing the ball down the field is hurting them. And it finally bit them in the butt. And teams, the first 5 games, Skip, they ran for over 100 yards. Only one 100-yard rush game in the final 12, including last night.
And who was that against? No, it wasn't even. I was thinking against Dallas.
Yeah,
but it wasn't.
No, wasn't even close against that.
Held them under 100. That's how bad they were.
That's how bad they were. You got to have some resemblance of a run game. Ben threw the ball. What he threw the ball? 68 times? 68? And then, he only threw for 500, but he threw 4 picks. They got 24 points off turnovers. So take away those 24 points they got off turnovers, Skip, and now we're looking at a different ball game.
Yep, I agree. So before I launch on this. As much as I love Mike Tomlin, I know Mike loves Mike Tomlin, Michael Vick does, I still have to make the point. First play of the fourth quarter, they had it 4th and 1 at their, 46-yard line?
That was key.
Just let Ben go. He had heated up.
Go for it.
Remember, the Browns are down 3 of their starters in their defensive backfield. You just go because he was hot, and I'm pretty sure he would have converted. And if he goes down and scores, all of a sudden early in the fourth quarter, let's say 10 minutes are left, it'd be 35-30. And all of a sudden, little brother's not thinking like I'm big brother anymore.
You need to put the pressure back on Cleveland.
Okay, because then I don't know what would happen from there. But Ben, I tweeted in the first quarter, don't be surprised if he throws for 500. He threw for 501 because he's backyard Ben. You're just letting him just play in the backyard. I'm just going to throw it here. I'm going to throw it there. And he's got about half an arm left, it looks like to me. And I don't know why. It just never came back right from elbow and shoulder surgery.
Actually, his arm doesn't look as strong as Phillip Rivers.
Well, it doesn't. No, seriously. So to me, it looked like, to Michael Vick's point, the beginning of the game, the Steelers came out like, okay, we're still the Steelers. They got COVID issues. They don't have their head coach. They don't have Bill Callahan, their offensive line coach. They're down this player and that player and this player and that player. We got this. And what did Juju Smith-Schuster say last week? The Browns is still the Browns. And Baker let them know about that after the game because that was their mentality. It's like, we will flip the switch. And they flipped it when the game started and their electricity got turned off. Because when you streak into the postseason, losing, you went 1-5 in your last 6 games, what did Coach Landry teach me when I was a pup in this business? You have to streak into the playoffs. The teams that win it all take off in December. You can't back in. They backed in, right?
Skip, they've been trending down for like 2 months.
For like 2 months.
I wish Mike T would have went for it on that 4th down.
Yep.
I thought that was a critical moment in the game, and he tried to play situational football, and that backfired because the Cleveland Browns was hot. And to your point, Shannon, what you said about Ben moving forward, being 37 years old or 38, you look at the older guys in the league, the older quarterbacks in the National Football League, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, those guys got running games. Aaron Rodgers got a run game behind him. You have to have a run game. If you're going to play this game till you're 40 years old, you got to be protected. You got to have the pressure taken off of you by a running back that has stability and is good enough to carry the load. So all of those guys, 40 and up, got run games. Aaron Rodgers got a run game, and he's playing some of his best football. So I still think Ben got a lot left in the tank. They just got to put a run game behind him. It's going to be paramount.
Man, Ben moving worse in the pocket than Brady. And Brady, 43. Usually, Ben, man, it's like Ben got a piano, a refrigerator, and a stove tied around him.
Okay, but he threw for 501 yards. Maybe their Dak Prescott Memorial empty calorie yards.
The man had 70 attempts. When have you ever seen that many attempts in a playoff game?
Ben can turn up when he wants to. You see that. Like, when it's there for him and when he can see it, it happens. He can make magic happen. Still, it's just the fact that 3rd and 2, we're passing the football.
You're
3rd and 5, we're passing the football. Sometimes you got to be able to hand it off. It's a little bit of everything in Pittsburgh, and then I think it needs to people need to take a hard look at what's going on within the organization moving forward.
And Skip, it's tailor-made for him to throw for 500. He ain't throwing up a dink and dunk. His offense is dink and dunk. So if we got a 28-point lead, I'm just going to concede that to you. I just don't want you to get no big chunk over my head.
Okay, I hear it. But would you send him home now, or would you?
No, he's not going home.
Okay.
No, he's not going home.
Okay, well, I would give him one more shot to Mike's point about you got to get him a running back.
Yes.
You got to let that defense get healthy again, and if it does, they're going to be a force.
Yep, they've been trending this way for an extended period of time. They're not the Steelers that we remember. Run the football, play defense. They are a passing football team that plays defense also. Yep. And so we've seen it trend towards being all Ben. And Ben hadn't played well in the playoff game. Skip, these last couple of playoff games, Ben hadn't played well now.
He has not. Once upon a time, he lost to Tim Tebow.
I mean, he started his career 10-2. Now I think he's 3-7 in his last 10 playoff games.
I just can't believe it started that way, though. 11-0 to have it end that way, that big of a hole early. It was an interesting start here and ending that way. Mike, we so appreciate you joining us. Always thank you for your time.
No mercy.
For our trending story brought to you by the all-new Kia Sorento, the world's first storytelling machine. Well, guys, it all comes down to this. Number 1, Alabama takes on number 3, Ohio State, tonight in the national championship. A win for Alabama would be the 3rd title since the college football playoff format began. And the Tide find themselves as 8.5-point favorites, according to Fox Bet Sportsbook. So, Shannon, do you expect a Bama blowout tonight?
I don't expect a Bama blowout, but I do expect Alabama to win. Ohio State played their best game of the season, might have been the best game in the last 2 seasons. The question is, can they replicate what they did against Clemson basically 2 weeks ago, Skip? This is what we know about Alabama. They had 3 guys in the top 5 in the Heisman voting, all on the offensive side. They won the Remington Award, the best center. They won the Outland Award, had the best offensive lineman, Alex Leatherwood. Doak Campbell, Johnny Unitas, obviously the Heisman Trophy winner. They're loaded offensively. The question is, you need 2 things to beat Alabama. You need to be able to run the football. And if you look at the games that they've lost in the championship game, what did Clemson do? Got after them. Cleveland Farrell, Dexter Lawrence, the other big kid, Christian Wilkins.
Yep.
When they beat them, when Ohio State beat them, they had Joey Bosa. They had those guys. Can they run the football effectively? And can they get after Mac Jones? I don't believe Alabama will blow this team out. I do believe Alabama will win the ball game. And it's going to be you're going to have to get to the mid-30s. It might be a 42-35 type ball game, Skip, like the first game between these 2 teams, just reverse, where Alabama has the 42 and Ohio State has the 35. But I don't expect a blowout. I do not.
Really?
No, I don't.
Well, you got the greatest offense in the history of college football. Well, it is. They put up better numbers than Joe Burrow and LSU did a year ago.
Good, Skip.
How can you got Devontae and Najee, who both scored 20 touchdowns. That's never happened in the history of college football. You had a running back and a wideout score 20 touchdowns.
Well, hopefully we can score 20 tonight between the 2 of them.
Well, maybe they will. So I thought you said he had a stinker.
He got a stink that day. But that defense ain't what we used to see it, though.
No?
He ain't got those guys he used to have down in that defense.
Well, I thought you were going to give me Ohio State an 8.5.
No, Skip.
Why not?
Skip, we ain't got Payne. We ain't got Allen. We ain't got Jared Reed. We ain't got Tomlinson. Skip, we ain't got those guys that we used to have. We ain't got the Minka Fitzpatricks back there in the secondary. The Harrison and the Jackson.
I think Ohio State's going to cause some pain on Bama's defense.
So we got a bet straight up.
8.5.
No.
Well, that's what Fox Bet says. It's 8.5. And I got a quarterback with, I think he's got cracked ribs.
He ain't got no crack, Skip. The man that called timeout and then he came back and threw a 64-yard strike.
Well, that's what they're being very guarded about what he has, but something was really wrong with his rib.
It was so bad he threw the ball farther than he had ever thrown it in his life.
They're also being very guarded. They got some COVID issues. We may see some starters not show up for this game. There was a point last week when I thought it was going to have to be postponed for another week.
Is that wide receiver, what's his name?
Olave.
Olave. Is he showing up?
I'm pretty sure he's
What about Trey
showing up.
Sermon?
Well, I'm pretty
What about
sure
Justin
he's showing
Fields?
up. Remember, Trey Sermon's an Oklahoma reject. We just said, no, you can transfer. We're done. We're better.
I wish y'all would have kept it.
Huh?
I wish y'all would have kept it.
Well, he just had 331 against Northwestern and 193 against Clemson. That'll work.
And you thought Zeke was hot coming into the national championship game. This guy might have been hotter than Zeke.
Well, I'm just hoping that Justin Fields is on a Zeke-like role, because what he did to Clemson just took my breath away. I picked him to upset Clemson, but my God, he was out of his mind. He couldn't miss.
Alabama has played well offensively all year. It's been a long time since,
off the charts.
It's been a long time in which they haven't reached 30.
Right, and Devontae is truly unguardable. You try everything on him.
And then,
you say, nothing cheap, nothing deep, and he catches a slant and he's gone, or a bubble and he's gone.
And then Jalen Waddle might be a game-time decision.
I think he's going to play.
If he can run, he still can run, Skip. You don't have to do a whole lot, but he can still take the top off the coverage if he's able to go. So I like Alabama. I'm gonna say 41-33.
41-33?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so it's 8.5. So
I'm not giving you any points. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I do expect St. Nick to get number 7, and Alabama will be back in its rightful place in the Alabama Invitational. All is right and well in Tuscaloosa and in Birmingham.
I'll take 7.5 right now.
No.
Yes.
No.
Come on, have some guts.
I ain't got no guts. I ain't got no guts.
Bama, I don't know why. You grew up in Georgia.
Yeah.
You went to Savannah State, and you're an Alabama nut. How did that happen? I don't get it.
I rooted anybody that can beat the dog. Anybody that can beat the Georgia Bulldogs.
You have no built-in connection with Alabama.
Zero.
Okay?
Zero.
So what?
But Skip, I just remember growing up and you know, we could see Coach Bryant, we could see all those. I remember, you know, Walter Davis and Major Ogilvy. I remember all those great Alabama players that growing up, I was like, man. And they were just playing, they were just blah to wish.
It was it was the most boring wishbone in the history of wishbones. Oklahoma ran one with cooking with gas.
Yeah. But,
right?
But they ain't want to see that man with that houndstooth hat on, though, did they?
I think Justin Fields is going to throw another party tonight. I think your Bama defense is gettable.
Yeah. Oh, and that's why you want me to. I mean, they gave up. What did they give up to Florida? Like 500, 600 yards to Florida.
They gave up 46 points because it was 52 to 46.
And they had another game where they gave up a bunch of points. So Ole Miss, they gave up to a protege.
Yep.
No.
I still like Patrick Surtain to my Cowboys at number 10, but I think he's going to have a long night.
No, he ain't gonna have a long night.
Yeah.
He gonna have a long night.
I'll take 7.5 right now.
Dude.
Come on.
Say Nick
No
gonna get that
guts,
thing.
no glory.
I ain't got no guts, but say Nick gonna get number 7 tonight.
I have a good feeling about the Buckeyes, guys. Come on. This season has been filled with adversity. And Coach Day said from day one, you know, we have the ability to be special this season. And I feel like they're peaking at the right time. That's all I have to say. I've been around them plenty, guys.
No mercy.
Well, Saturday, Tom Brady surpassed George Blanda as the oldest player to throw a touchdown pass in NFL playoff history. Well, the broadcast showed side-by-side photos of each 43-year-old QB, and Twitter went nuts over it. Shannon, how do you explain the stunning difference between the Brady picture and the Blanda picture?
George Blanda probably had just drank a 6-pack and smoked a pack of Salem 100s. Skincare products has come a long way. Skip, you know everybody back there smoked. They were smoking at halftime, smoking on the sideline.
They did. That team smoked. Yep.
So I think that has a lot to do with it. Guys take better care of themselves now than they did back then. In all seriousness, you know, Tom Brady takes great care of his skin. I'm sure he gets facial. I'm sure he do scrubs and body polishes and all this. The way he eats, he's properly hydrated. So that explains the difference.
But it's a stunning difference because those teams did smoke cigarettes, they ate steak, and they ate cake, and they put the off in off season because they took it off.
Yes.
Completely off.
And even during the season.
and these were stunning tributes to those side-by-side pictures to nutrition and fitness because at the highest level, Brady knows both of those.
Right.
Those are the key two reasons that he has lasted as long as he has lasted.
There's no question.
And to me, in the end, you can see the difference in just his, as you said, the glow in his face.
Right.
And George Blanda looked like he was 70 years old, right?
But remember, Skip, George played another 5 years, even though he was mainly a kicker. George was 48. He was 48.
A straight-on kicker. He was not a soccer-style kicker.
So, Skip, that has a lot to do with it. Guys take better care of themselves. They get proper rest. They're not out partying. Not saying George did that, but guys just take better care of themselves. They have a better understanding. The money is greater, so they stay in it longer, and they know that's the best way to do that is to take care of themselves.
Good for them.
Brady is trending backwards. Good reminder to eat healthy today. Good stuff today, guys. Enjoy the national championship game tonight. Have a good day.